Thank you for taking part in this Model United Nations conference and for believing in the power of global cooperation to solve global problems. We need your engagement and ideas today more than ever. Conflict, poverty, hunger and inequalities are on the rise. A surge of mistrust and misinformation is polarizing people and paralyzing societies. Human rights are under assault. And the triple planetary crisis, climate disruption, pollution and catastrophic biodiversity loss is threatening lives and livelihoods everywhere. But we can turn things around. Humanity has shown time and again that we are capable of great things when we work together across geographies and generations. To do so, we need an inclusive and networked multilateralism, one that ensures young people have a seat and a say in shaping our common future. We need your creativity, courage and commitment. I draw hope from seeing your generation challenge the status quo and call for transformative challenge. The United Nations is your steadfast ally in striving to build a more just, sustainable, inclusive and peaceful world for all. Thank you. Thank you for taking part in this Model United Nations conference and for believing in the power of global cooperation to solve global problems. We need your engagement and ideas today more than ever. Conflict, poverty, hunger and inequalities are on the rise. A surge of mistrust and misinformation is polarizing people and paralyzing societies. Human rights are under assault. And the triple planetary crisis, climate disruption, pollution and catastrophic biodiversity loss is threatening lives and livelihoods everywhere. But we can turn things around. Humanity has shown time and again that we are capable of great things when we work together across geographies and generations. To do so, we need an inclusive and networked multilateralism, one that ensures young people have a seat and a say in shaping our common future. We need your creativity, courage and commitment. I draw hope from seeing your generation challenge the status quo and call for transformative challenge. The United Nations is your steadfast ally in striving to build a more just, sustainable, inclusive and peaceful world for all. Thank you.
Hello, Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. So, as mentioned so far, today is our last session of training for all the participants of MUNIC 2023. So far in our sessions, we have discussed about how to research and prepare for the Modelian conference. We discussed about how to do debates, what are the different kinds of conversations that we do at a conference. That's about how to make your speeches, how do we debate in a moderated caucus, how do we have our conversations in unmoderated and informal sessions during our conference, and how do we negotiate, how do we lobby and make allies so that we are able to work together and collaborate. Now, today is again one of the most important sessions to help you understand, which is actually the main job of our conference. The main part of your conference is to draft solutions. At a MUN conference, we call it draft resolution, and to find possible solutions and submit it to the conference, which would further be submitted to UN for evaluations and to the jury to see how creative our solutions are for the agenda given to us in the committee allotted. Right. So, for drafting resolution, what do you actually need? You would need possible solutions. For that, you would have done your research. I hope all of you have started writing your position papers. Many of you have already submitted your position papers. So when you were drafting, researching for your position papers, that is position from your country's perspective, you would have done a lot of research on what has been done so far. That is the existing solution. And then you would have also brainstormed on what could be done to solve the problem of refugee children, which is given to you. Now, when you were researching, you would have found out the possible solutions are what your country wants the United Nations to address on the issue. That's what we call possible solution. And it's the possible solution which play a major role in your draft resolution. So, yes, possible solutions are important. So you have an idea of what to write in your resolution. So your third paragraph of your position paper and all the researches that you have done around what could be done to solve the problem is what you work on to create your draft resolution. So each country, each one of you are representing different countries. So each of you have your own possible solutions around your country and universal solutions, right? So it's all the solutions that you have, which will be used to draft your resolution. And that is the main goal of Model UN as such, right? To draft solutions that you all have brought. Now, when you were uh, uh, searching for possible solutions based on the existing solutions, you will not have generic one or two solution for the whole problem. You would have to break down the big problem, that is protecting refugee children, into smaller problems around education, around safety, around health and well-being, around protection, around um, um, opportunities, around asylum, seeking asylum, that is rights, all the rights of the children, right? So these are different areas in which you can break down the bigger problem. And then you'll further research on the possible solution by either you think of expanding the strength of the existing policies which are existing for refugee children, or you can think of fixing weaknesses of the existing solutions, or and you can create totally new solutions altogether while discussing in the committee by considering every solution that every other delegate have brought and working together to drafting, working together on all the possible solutions that you have brought. So why do I mention this? Because I want you to be clear what kind of possible solutions that you should have. It could be either strengthening the existing policies. I repeat, it could be either fixing the weaknesses of existing policies, or it can be, or and it should have some innovative solutions that you would have brought to draft your resolution. Now, once you have these possible solutions, you are ready to draft your resolution. Coming to how does your resolution actually looks like. So a resolution has three parts, just as your position paper had three paragraphs of background, your country policy and possible solutions. Your resolution has a format, and it would have a header which will mention the details of on what have you drafted the resolution. The second paragraph, the second part of your resolution is the preambulatory clauses. I'll explain you further what are the preambulatory clauses. And the third part of your resolution are operative clauses. Okay. What is the first part of your resolution? So this is how a resolution looks like. The first part, header, the committee, topic, sponsors are the countries who have drafted that resolution. Signatories are countries who are ready to debate on the resolution that you have drafted. It should have a small title. The first paragraph, so the first part, the second part of your resolution is the preambulatory clauses, which describes the problem. And the third part is the operative clauses, which describes the possible solutions. Okay. So what all should you have in your header? You should have the name of the committee, United Nations High Commission of Refugees. You should have the topic, protecting refugee children. If the sponsors are the members in the bloc who are working together to draft this resolution, are the sponsors. You can have as many sponsors as you want. There's no fixed number of sponsors. Signatories are the countries who are ready to debate and listen to your suggestions that may come, right? There is no fixed number for signatories that you can have. You can, even if you don't have signatories in your in your draft resolution, is completely fine. Then you should have a name to your draft resolution. It could be some specific sub-agenda that you're considering in your draft resolution, or some innovative name that you want to give to your draft resolution. And it begins your draft resolution writings. The content begins with the name of the committee, the United Nations High Commission of Refugees. Hope the first part is clear, right? So the committee name, topic name, sponsors, resolution name. Coming back to the preambulatory clauses. So preambulatory clauses, when we say the second part, is actually, it's the preamble of your resolution. Preamble of a resolution states the reason for which the committee is addressing the topic, right? And it highlights past international actions that have been taken to solve the issues. And each clause, so we write every statement with a clause with actually a present participle. It is called a preambulatory clause. And every statement ends with a comma. So what all do you write in a preambulatory clause in the second part of your draft resolution? It could be a reference to your UN Charter. It could be citations of past UN resolutions or treaties on the topic under discussion. It could be a statement which is mentioned by the Secretary General or the High Commission of Refugees to solve the problem. Or it could be recognizing the efforts of the existing agencies or NGOs in dealing with the issue, right? So, and you use specific clauses for doing that. So how does that statement looks like? Imagine you want to mention that um, uh, uh, the committee is going through a huge problem. Imagine you are in a committee which is talking about climate change, and you want to mention that 10,000 species are getting extinct every year. How do you mention that statement with a preambulatory clause? The clause is noting, present participle, noting that 100 to 10,000 species go extinct every year. You end the statement with a comma. Acknowledging that biodiversity is necessary to a healthy planet, and you end the statement with a phrase, with a comma. So these are some of the preambulatory clauses that you will have with you. I'll also share a format with you in which you will have all the preambulatory clauses and the operative clauses to help you draft the draft resolution really well. So clauses like affirming, alarmed, approving, aware of, bearing in mind, based on the kind of resolution that you want to write. So I'll just show you a format. I have, yeah. Okay, if you want to use want to write a statement using recalling. Recalling is generally used to cite past actions, and you want to say that this has been done so far. You want to mention particular resolutions or conventions or treaties. You want to use that phrase. You can write it by using recalling the guidelines and standards set by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, and end that statement with a comma. You can use the word noting to identify key issues that the committee has been debating and that the resolution will solve, like noting the need to reconcile the divide in capacities and resources between developed and developing countries. If you want to show the concern of the problem, the gravity of the problem, you can use this phrase to highlight the problem. Concerned that rising sea levels pose an existential threat to small island developing states. So this way you'll be able to use the phrases. I'll be sharing all these templates with you, which will help you to, you can just go through these templates once again. It will help you to draft and use the right preambulatory clauses and operative clauses while you're drafting your resolution. Okay. I had one. Template for each one of you. Okay. So this template is something that I'll share with you. Imagine for a preambulatory clause, your problem is rising sea levels has threatened the existing of small island countries. Now, once you have that problem, what you do in your blogs during an unmod caucus is you write down all the problems that you have. And then you add preambulatory clauses to those problem statements or the existing solution statements and end that statement with a comma. It becomes your preambulatory clause. Imagine you wrote rising sea levels threatens the existence of small island countries. Now that's a problem statement. How do you convert that statement into with a preambulatory place? You write concerned that rising sea levels pose an existential threat to small island developing states, and you end that statement with a comma. Right? That's how we create preambulatory process. Hope that was helpful, right? So once you have written all the preambulatory clauses, which could be existing UN policies, which could be citation to the problems, which could be references to the UN Charter or the mandate or to the existing policies, or which could be appreciating the efforts or recognizing the efforts of existing agencies in solving the problem. Right. Once you have done that, once you have written all the preambulatory clauses, all the problems that you want to solve through that draft resolution, once you have mentioned that, you write the operative clauses. The difference between the preambulatory clauses, which shows the past and the present, operative clauses are your possible solutions, are the actions that you want to be taken through that draft resolution. Right? So operative preambulatory clauses mention what has been done. Operative clauses mention what should be done, what could be done. So all the operative clauses are numbered. Second, it starts with an underlined operative clause, which I'll show you with examples, and you end every statement with a semicolon. You end the preambulatory clauses with a comma. You end the operative clauses. You start the operative clauses with numbers and end with semicolon. And the last statement of your draft resolution ends with a full stop, right? You should have as many operative clauses as possible, and it should generally be more than the preambulatory clauses. And all your operative clauses should be around what you have mentioned in preambulatory clauses. That is, your preemptive clauses, if they say the problem, your operative clauses should say how you should solve that problem. It shouldn't be disconnected. Imagine you are mentioning about the health and well-being issues are concerned by the health and difficulties in tackling health and well-being of children. And imagine in your operative clauses, you do not mention any solutions to solve it. You haven't written your draft resolution properly then, right? So all the problems that you mention in your preambulatory clauses should have an operative clause mentioning how it could be resolved. Some sample operative clauses are accepts, affirms, approves, designates, calls for. Just remember that what you write in your General Assembly, UNHCR, operative clauses, they are not binding on the countries to follow. Not binding means there is no compulsion to abide by it. Only the resolutions passed by the Security Council are binding to the countries. All the draft resolutions in General Assembly are recommendations and suggestions, and it cannot be forced on the countries to be applied. Once you remember that, you'll use the right operative clauses. So how does your operative clause part looks like? Your possible solutions look like? Point one, encourages non-government organizations to partner with the United Nations to protect endangered species. And with a semicolon, urges high-income countries to fund anti-poaching programs in areas with high extinction rates, and with a semicolon. Third, calls upon countries to increase the size and number of their protected areas. If that's the last point, end with a full stop, right? So now, when you're writing your operative clauses, it cannot be just a random solution. It has to be something that can be implemented and have an operational perspective to it. So all the operative clauses that you mentioned, check whether it has a clear goal. For what I have you written that operative clause or that possible solution? Who is impacted by a program if you're suggesting in a suggestion, in a possible solution in an operative clause? Who is responsible for implementing the program? Where will it be implemented? When will it be implemented? How will it be funded? If it is a program that you're looking forward to, an innovative solution that needs fund, how will it be funded? How will we measure the program's success? So what will be the implementation and evaluation procedure of that program? So that when you answer these questions, you have written effective operative clauses to help solve the problem which is being given to you, right? So just as I showed you the preambulatory clauses, I want to show you how your operative clauses should look like. So in the space, this is a small a template which will be shared with you, right? So example, you want to show that UN should form regional centers that will be developing countries, that will help developing countries acquire green technology to combat climate change, especially rising sea level. So you have suggested to form some regional centers to help the countries. Now, that is your solution. How do we write that solution with an operative clause? Recommends the establishment of multiple regional climate change centers in order to assist developing countries with the development, acquisition, and implementation of green technology in order to combat climate change, especially its existential threat to small island developing states due to rising sea levels. And you end with a semicolon. Hope that was helpful. In same way, you can use this template during your conference also. So what do we do in an unmod? We sit down and write all the existing and the possible solutions. And then when we are drafting resolution, we convert those existing solutions with preambulatory clauses, and we convert all our possible solutions with operative clauses, right? Remember these things really well when you're drafting a solution so when you are drafting a program that has to be implemented, you can add sub points, that is A, B, C, and again sub points to it to show who is impacted, who will be impacted, who will be responsible for implementing, where will it be implemented, and how will it be funded. So for that, I have a small whole resolution for you to read through, which will help you understand how your draft resolution would look like. Start with the header, committee, topic, sponsor, and signatory. Sponsors are the countries who are sharing their suggestions in drafting that resolution. Write down the heading, give a title to your resolution. First, the preambulatory clauses. Since the committee is General Assembly, you write General Assembly. Your committee is UNHCR, you write the full form of UNHCR. Keeping in mind that climate change is an overwhelming global problem that requires immediate and long-term solution, comma. Acknowledging the differences in the economic standing of different nations, comma. Deeply concerned by the political obstacles that nations face when it comes to combating climate change, comma, right? Then you enter into operative process. One, affirms the importance of implementing carbon capture, removal, and storage technology worldwide. How? Implores nation to double the amount of direct air capture plants that are constructed worldwide within a 5-year time frame, depending on geographic availability and need. Two, focuses efforts on semi-arid lands and desert region where trees cannot naturally capture carbon emissions. Two, which is around education, endorses high-income countries to sponsor educational programs, campaigns on the consequences of climate change, importance of mitigating global warming, and local sustainability practices that the average civilian can implement. Simple solution. Then, around transportation, request nations to implement sustainable transportation methods within their own countries. How? By using the increased use of electric and hybrid vehicles, expansion of walkable areas, development of additional public transportation, incentivization of joint commuting. Fourth, around taxes, invites nations to institute a carbon tax on large corporations based on the amount of carbon dioxide emissions produced annually by said corporations. Funding, around funding, what are your suggestions? Encourages the following strategy for funding. Developed and wealthier countries will sponsor green energy initiatives within developing nations, comma. The World Bank will allocate funds to carbon capture technology facilities. Non-government organizations will aid developing countries in their need for clean energy solutions. Workers and materials will be sent Workers and materials will be sent to developing countries to help build green technologies. And you end the last statement with a full stop. That's how you draft a possible solution. Now, again, you can add creativity in your draft resolution by ending with a statement of recommending countries to solve the problem together and come together to solve the problem or abide by the security. Congratulate all nations which choose to resolve their disputes in a peaceful fashion, right? So these are few of the samples that I'll be sharing with you to have an idea of how resolution looks like. Now, drafting a resolution is not a big task. I mean, following the format, using the clauses is not the big part. The great part is having great possible solutions and working together in drafting possible solutions together, making sure you ensure to bring in everybody's ideas, you involve everybody in your team to draft great resolution. Because this is not one man task, this is not one country's draft resolution. This is a resolution, a universal solution that we are looking forward to. So each one of your involvement would be very, very important. We all know that it is difficult at United Nations to enforce the solutions that you're bringing. Why? Because UN can only make recommendations because of its principle of national sovereignty. That is, every country has the right to govern themselves and decide whether they want to follow it or not. That's why all the draft resolutions that you make at a MUN conference or at UN also, UN motivates to pass the resolutions with consensus. That is, the draft resolutions that you draft will further force you in the committee. Imagine you have two blocks and you have written two different draft resolutions. In your committee, we would actually encourage you to merge your draft resolutions and rework on your draft resolutions together with, if you have common ideas, merging them in common ideas, merging them in common points. And if you have different ideas, bringing them, adding them to your operative clause, and think if all of you can work together and have a lot of solutions for protecting refugee children, ensuring that all of your country policies also agree to it. So that's where negotiations will come in. That's where you will have further discussions why it can be implemented in some countries, cannot be implemented in some countries, and you'll have to work together and find out universal solutions, right? And that's the main part of your resolution. Once you have drafted resolutions, you'll be presenting your draft resolutions. You'll be reading out your draft resolutions. Once you have read out your draft resolutions, the committee members will listen to you, the other delegates will listen to you and suggest amendments to your draft resolution to make it more effective. If it does cannot be applied to their country, or it's something that already exists, or something that you have omitted to mention, or some pointers that can make it more effective. There will be amendments, discussions, and Q&A sessions on the draft resolutions that you make. The Q&A sessions are more around asking questions around the operative clauses that you have mentioned, and all those who draft that resolution will be answerable to every question that may come up for your draft resolution. So that's why we always suggest to read through your draft resolution really well, ensure that it doesn't have mistakes. And if has mistake, be ready to correct it during the amendments or the Q&A session that will be done after drafting your resolution, after presenting your resolution. So the ultimate motive is we come up with real, effective, operative clauses which can be implemented in real life. That's why these amendments and Q&A sessions are all really helpful to each other, and which also brings in your questioning abilities, your answering abilities, your speaking capacities, and your creativity in drafting the solution. Once you end the whole conference, after all the debates and creativity and collaboration, it is nice that you reflect on your performance, you reflect on others' perspective, and reflect on what is something new that you have learned, right? What are the qualities that you focused, that you realized that you never had, right? And one thing you learned, one thing you would want to share, and something that you would like to implement in your real life also. Right? So that's what the whole conference is about. And that's Model UN Conference. I hope there was a lot of talking from my end, but I hope it was helpful to each one of you. I'm going to share everything that I've shown to you on the screen on chat. Definitely, I'll share it on the group also to help each one of you. Right now, we are opening it to each one of you to ask any questions that you have around the whole conference. Because this is our last meeting, I want you can add your questions on the chat. Be very open. There are no foolish questions. Don't worry whether you are going to ask a wrong question. You can ask any question that comes up to you. If you have not understood, if you want me to repeat something, I would love to do that now. Over to each one of you. Even the EB, Jisrael, Nora, Aditya, Nandagopal, if you want to share anything here, please go ahead. Rhea, Annabelle, Jeshna, Madhav, if you have any questions, go ahead. You can add on chat as well. Was it clear to you? No questions? Fine. We have a group which is open where you can always put up your questions. Don't worry. Okay, can you explain signatories once more? Good. Annabelle, signatories are the countries who are not writing that resolution, but who might be a part of the whole committee, who could be delegates from other blocks also, who would like to, listen to your debate on the resolution that you are drafting, who may or may not vote for your block, but signatories are also delegates whom you convince to please vote for our resolution so that we have it passed. We have some great ideas. So signatories are countries who are ready to, to be part of the voting process when you are presenting and vote for your committee. Generally, it is not really important to have signatories, but you can have countries ready to debate to you. So how do you find out signatories for your committee, for your draft resolution is a question that may come up. When you draft your resolution, you go to other delegates, that is, you send them chat messages and you lobby with them and you tell them that we have drafted this resolution which has these possible solutions. We really want you to vote for a resolution. We want a resolution to be passed. It could be other members of your block also who are not participated in drafting that resolution, but who definitely vote for your resolution. So how do you get maximum delegates in your block? By bringing them together, by convincing them that your block is going to draft a real good resolution and will have something very creative, and you want everybody together, everybody's ideas will be taken. The bigger the block, you'll have more number of signatories in the block, right? So sponsors are delegates who are drafting, and signatories are delegates who are ready to vote for your resolution, but may or may not vote. It's not a compulsion for them to vote for your resolution. If they find some other draft resolution more creative, more interesting, they may even vote for it. Is there any limit for how many countries there can be in a block? No limit. You can, in fact, have the whole committee in your block also. It depends on your uh, lobbying skills, your skills in bringing everybody together. Yeah. Okay. Great. Fine. We would, in fact, love to see one or maximum two block where everybody works together. And we would rather also love to have maximum number of sponsors bringing in a maximum creative solutions. Can you neither be a signatory or author? Yes, you can neither be a signatory or an author also. You can just see, observe, you can choose to be an observer also in a committee. Yeah. Okay, Ashish. Fine. Any other questions if you have, you can always put up on the group. The group has been made for each one of you to, to collaborate, to lobby, know each other, ask questions, and clear all your doubts before you come to the conference. Be assured that during the conference also, the whole of the EB will keep assisting you in each procedure while drafting resolution also in your moderated caucus, and will also define what are speeches, what are moderated caucus, what are you supposed to do in the draft resolution. Because the ultimate motive is not just to end with a lot of speaking, but to end with some real good solutions in the committee, since we have taken up the Month Refugee Challenge, right? Okay, so you'll find the recording of this session also on the group and all the pages that I've mentioned. Hope that was helpful. Submit your position papers by tomorrow day ends, and see you on December 8th, 6 p.m.